Hello. I'd like to tell you about a little bit about this week's Parsha, this week's Torah reading. This week's Torah reading is called Korach. Korach was a great man. He was a leader among the Jewish people. He was part of the tribe of Levi. And he was given a job, probably one of the most important jobs. He carried the Aron HaKodesh, the ark, that within it had the two tablets. And it was his job, together with someone else from his family, to carry that through the desert. But yet, Korach was unhappy, because his first cousin, Moshe, was the leader of the Jewish people. Moshe's brother, also his first cousin, Aaron, was the Kohen Gadol, the high priest of the Jewish people. Another cousin was the prince of the tribe of Levi. And Korach felt, why can't I have that also? Now, the damage that Korach did was unbelievable. But his intentions, everybody ranks on Korach that he was so horrible, but Korach's intentions were actually very good. He wanted to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wanted to be closer to God and have these exalted positions, so he had the opportunity to serve God on a much higher level. But we know about the road to you-know-where. It's paved with good intentions. What did Korach do? He started a scandal. He started making people believe that Moshe was making things up as he was going on, deciding things on his own, telling people what to do through his decisions. And Korach was saying, God never said that, you made it up. Two of the subjects that he fought over is the idea of tzitzis and the idea of mezuzah. Tzitzis, that we wear on a four-cornered garment on our clothing and our talesim. Officially, one of them is supposed to have a blue dye. We're not sure what the blue dye is today, so we don't do it. But every time you wear a four-cornered garment, you have to have these fringes on it, and one of the fringes has to be dyed blue from this specific type of sea creature. And Korach convinced a group of Jews that Moshe was making this up, and he wanted to prove his point by dyeing the garment completely blue and having them wear it. And they went to Moshe and said, this garment that's completely blue, does it still need the one blue string? And he said, yes, it still needs the one blue string. And they laughed at him, and they said, the garment is completely blue, but yet, and it still needs the one blue string. And you would take a garment that's not blue, put one blue string, and say that's good for the whole garment. Your understanding makes no sense. And then they asked him a question. If you have a room that's filled with Torah, full with Torah scrolls, floor to ceiling, do you still need a mezuzah on the door? And he said, yes, of course I do. Of course you do. And they laughed at that. They said, you take a mezuzah, you put that on the door. The mezuzah only has one portion of the Torah on it, and that takes care of the whole house. But if you have a house that's full of Torahs, you still need the mezuzah on the door. Your logic makes no sense. And the answer to that was, it's not his logic. It's God's logic, and God's logic supersedes and is above us. But they kept on saying that Moshe is making this up as he's going along, and he's using his own logic, so they were arguing on his logic. But why did he use those two examples? the blue string that's wrapped around the other white strings, and the mezuzah that's on the outside, with the Torahs on the inside. Korach was a brilliant man. Korach was saying, we're all holy. The Jewish people are a holy people. Why do we need a leader? Why do the tzitzis, the fringes, need one fringe wrapped around all of them to keep them in place? Why does a house full of Torah scrolls need one mezuzah on the outside and everything else on the inside? And that's kind of being the boss, being the leader. We're all equal. We don't need leaders. Everybody, every Jew should be the same. Korach's mistake is, if everybody's a leader, no one is. Korach's rebellion was a rebellion against Moshe's leadership. Korach's rebellion was a rebellion against the leadership of the Torah leaders throughout the generations. We don't have to listen to you. We have a Torah, and we can define it the way we want to define it. If everyone defines the Torah the way they want to define it, and not the way it's understood and it has been passed down from Mount Sinai for generations, we will no longer be one people. We'll be a group of disjointed, not even a group, we'll be disjointed people trying to follow the same Torah, and nobody gets a real grasp of what's going on. When we got the Torah, it says, V'yichan sham Yisrael neged ahar. And Yisrael camped, as if one person camped. And every other encampment on the way, it says V'yachanu, and they camped, plural. But when they came to Mount Sinai, it says V'yichan, and he camped. And it was at that moment that God said, okay, they're ready to get the Torah. Why was that the defining moment? Because once they understood that the Jewish people are supposed to be one unit, we work together, so then we can bring Torah and God's presence into the world, which is our job. Good job.